So to give you a quick brief of what we have done in the previous class, we started another chapter in communicative English, which talks about interview skills. So in the previous class, which had happened on Wednesday, we discussed about how do we prepare for the interview. It was also told that whenever we are talking about preparation of interview, it happens at both the end, that is from the organization side as well as by the applicant or by the candidate who is willing to opt for the job or who is willing to apply for the position. So when we talk about job application, it is also called as cover letter. We need to remember we have to upload our resume or CV. Based on that or based on the information that you're going to furnish in your resume or CV, the company will understand, the organization will understand, or the institution will understand whether you are exactly fulfilling the eligibility criteria or not. In case if you are having any skills, in case if you are having any kind of knowledge that can be useful for the organization or for the institution, how they can get maximum benefit if they are going to recruit you. So the first process which happens is by the candidate or by the applicant is by sharing the for the interview process by sharing the resume or the CV. As I have already discussed that there is a difference between resume and CV. We should not get confused. Resumes are generally written by those people who are looking for the job in industry or in the organization. Whenever we are talking about CV, that is curriculum vitae is written by the academicians. Resumes are very short, whereas curriculum vitae are lengthy because it talks about all the activities, particularly related to publication, research, presentation, and even about the experiences. Say, for example, when we are talking about teaching, what are the schools or where are the colleges where the other person might have taught, what are his experiences or her experiences, what are the accomplishments and achievements, what are the kind of seminar, conferences, workshop, developmental programs that he or she might have attended. Everything will be mentioned in the CV, whereas in the resume, it is brief because it talks about more about your skill sets, more about your experiences, more about the accomplishment when you have achieved or whatever you have achieved while working in the organization. So here is the cover letter. Before we send the resume, it is always appreciated and practiced that you all should submit a cover letter. As an attachment, of course, you have to share your resume or CV. So let us move further. In today's session, we are going to talk about the different types of interview. Now, you all should understand that interview, as I have told, as we have already discussed, it is a process in which you share your opinion. The other person is also willing to share his or her opinion. Why each of the parties they are sharing their opinion? The reason is very simple. They want to see whether you are the suitable candidate or not. Even you are going to judge whether the organization where you are appearing for the interview process, is it a right place for you to join as an employee. So always remember, when we talk about interview, there can be different purposes for conducting the interview. There can be different positions, there can be different profiles. Certain profiles require a person who should be very good in finance. There are certain profiles where people want a person to be good at communication as well as good at people management and negotiation. So based on the profile, when I say profile means the title of the job. So say for example, if you are a student of BBA, after finishing your BBA course, when you are applying for the job, there can be different positions, there can be different positions for which you can apply. So you have to remember, say for example, if you are looking for a job related to accountancy or financial services, you should be smart. You should be very good in solving the problems related to accountancy, or you should have very good numerical skills. I'll request Ashish Raj to kindly mute your speaker. Your speaker is unmute and it is creating problem. Thank you, Ashish. So moving ahead, whenever we are talking about the different profiles, as we were talking about finance, so numerical skills or the numerical ability should be strong enough. Similarly, when we are talking about the profiles like sales and marketing, you should be very creative, you should be very communicative, you should have innovative ideas, you should have the you should have the zeal to travel to different places. That means you should be the person who should love to travel a lot, love to interact with people, explore more with what? With the comparison of what your competitors are doing, what your organization is into, how can you attract more audience or more customers or more clients. So this is very, very important, and we have to identify the profile. Based on the profile, the interview process will be held. Now, broadly, there are two kinds of interview. There could be structured interview or unstructured interview. We have already dealt this. If you remember, when we were talking about the processes of research methodology, you may conduct the interview process in order to collect data. I don't know how many of you have done the revision, but when we were discussing about report writing, and particularly when we have discussed about collection of data could be done through primary or secondary. There can be primary sources of collecting the data, or there could be secondary source of collecting the data. Secondary is something wherein you are trying to get the information, you are trying to gather the information, you are trying to pull the information from the other sources. Could be from website, could be from journals, could be from magazine, could be from the diaries that are mentioned and written by people. So there can be many sources via which you can collect the secondary data. But when we talk about primary data, it is conducted through interviews, through questionnaires, through even observation. So when we were discussing about interview there, I have already explained that there are two different ways of questioning the people. There can be structured interview or unstructured interview. I want everyone to please keep a paper and pen with you, so that whenever I explain any of the important point, you can immediately note it down. So when we talk about structured interviews are those kind of interview where there is a set of questions. There is a fixed set of questions that would be asked to every applicant. There are certain fixed questions which will be asked to each and every applicant. Say, for example, they may conduct an aptitude test. Aptitude test will be conducted. Similar kind of aptitude test will be conducted with each applicant. Then there can be GD. There can be different personal interview. In the personal interview round, there can be different questions that could be asked by HR or the concerned departmental head, and they may ask same kind of question to see whether the applicants are good enough for the organization or not. When we talk about unstructured interviews are those kind of interview where based on your answers, based on the answer of the applicant, they may change the question. Say, for example, Abhinav says that he likes to code, he likes writing codes, or he likes designing. Whereas Akhilesh, he is also applying for the same job, but he says that he has keen interest into targeting the client and customer, or communicating with the new people, or interacting with new people and sharing the information with the new people about the product and all. So their interest is totally different. Abhinav talks particularly about coding, whereas Akhilesh is talking about communication skill. So based on the interest area, so the interviewer, he or she may ask Abhinav about the coding, about the programming languages, about writing the algorithm, how did he get this interest, what are the areas he is expert into. Similarly to Akhilesh, he may or she may ask that why he or she thinks that, why Akhilesh thinks that communication is so important, how can he interact with others. So there can be different questions based on the interest of the candidate, wherein the questions will be asked. Now these questions, whether it is structured or unstructured, they may be asked in different ways. It could be one-on-one interview process. When I say one-on-one, what I'm trying to explain is here, there is an interviewer and there is an interviewee. One person questioning one other person, and there are different questions which are asked, and there is no other person to listen to what you are answering, or what you are answering to. There is personal interview where there is only one person sitting in the interview room, and the applicant is answering to the questions that are asked by the interviewer. Group interview happens whenever there are many number of people. There are good number of people. Say for example, there is a panel. There are three people from the interviewer side, and there is one candidate. They are asking different questions to this one single candidate. It is also called as panel interview. You should not get confused if somebody is talking about panel interview. Or sometimes it may happen that there is a panel which is asking question to a good number of interviewees. Say, for example, if there are three people in the panel, there can be even three interviewees sitting in front of the panel. So you should know, if we are talking about group interview, in group interviews, there can be many number of interviewers as well as there can be many number of interviewees. So it is a group interview. In group interview, it saves time. It also helps the interviewer to identify who is responding in the right way, who is the suitable candidate, and they can judge, they can evaluate, they can assess the process very quickly because they have their results in front of them, and they can quickly compare between the candidates. So group interview is again another type of interview. Stress interview is the toughest one. During the stress interview, they try to create stress in the mind of the interview. Say, for example, if somebody asks you a question and you know that, how do you see the different object? You may say, I see the different object with my eyes. But in case if the interviewer say, no, your answer is wrong, you are not giving me the right answer. I want you to once again think and give me a correct answer as what are the ways in which you see the object or through what you see the object. Now the interview is a bit confused. He or she may think whether his answer is right or wrong. How do he manages this particular stress? There can be certain situations in which your answer is absolutely right, but still they try to create a chaotic situation, create that havoc, create that kind of fear factor wherein they want to judge how do you handle even under pressure, how do you handle yourself, how what is your ability to manage yourself when you are facing any problematic situation. So stress interviews are the interviews which are generally conducted in order to judge, in order to check, in order to find out, in order to evaluate the person's behavioral aspect. So if sometimes they may shout at you during the time of interview, sometimes they may insult you or humiliate you, so that to judge and to check whether you are able to understand the process, or even in difficult situations, how do you manage? So this is very very important kind of interview. And of course when you people are going to apply for the positions like sales, marketing, HR, these all are pressurized jobs, and in these job you have to handle even difficult people. When I say difficult people, these are the people who may look common like us, but they create problem while they are working in the organization. So how do you manage difficult people? How do you manage your anger? How do you manage your time? How do you manage pressure? Such kind of interviews, or the questions that are asked related to judging the behavior would be considered as stress interview. Computer assisted interviews. These are those kind of interviews where you are going to give or apply for different aptitudinal test or psychometric test in order to know your psychology, in order to know what do your mind think and how do you carry yourself, in what way you are going to project and present your mindset, or how do you present your thought, how do you present your emotions. So this kind of interview is conducted generally with the help of computer. That is the reason it is also called as computer assisted interview. Please remember this term psychology. And psychology, when we are talking about this psychometric test, there are different institutions which do conduct psychometric test. So we are going to discuss about psychometric test at length when we will start the process of spoken English, because that will help you to identify and to understand what is your mindset, how do you cope up the pressure, how do you handle yourself. So this will be a good exercise not only to understand your own psychology, but will also give you an hands-on experience of knowing what psychometric test is. Then comes to the last one, that is virtual interview. When we talk about virtual interview, can you name three or four different ways in which the virtual interviews are generally conducted? When I say virtual, it is not in presence of the person. Do you know any of the mode in which the virtual interviews can be conducted? Particularly online interview process. If I talk about virtual, they are online. So what are the modes? Uh, what are the ways and means in which we can conduct the virtual interview? Can I get to know from the students who are attending this particular class quickly? Have you heard about Skype? If you have heard about Skype, quickly in the chat box, I want to see you writing I. Yes, Aradhna? I think Aradhna had heard about this. Yes, very good, Abhishek Kumar Rajak. Interviews which are conducted with the help of webcam where the video conferencing is done. Excellent. Yes, we are talking about virtual interview. Virtual interview is conducted through the Skype. Like Google Meet is one of the platforms. Zoom can be another platform. Microsoft Team can be again another platform. So there can be different platforms via which we can conduct the interview. It could also be telephonic, isn't it? WhatsApp is again providing you the video conferencing facility. So it could be telephonic, it could be Skype, video conferencing, wherein the person is not present physically. Always remember, if we are talking about virtual interviews, it is the process in which the interview is held, but physical presence of the person is missing. The interviewer is sitting somewhere in some other part of the nation. The interview is sitting in some other part of the nation. When you are having interview between two different people from two different corners of the world, such kind of interview process is virtual. Say for example, after your BBA or BCA course, when you are looking for higher studies and you are looking when you might have applied into different universities or colleges other than India, your virtual interview will be conducted. So during the virtual interview, they will be judging your skills, they will be even judging your communication skill. They are going to also judge your body language and personality. So this is very, very important to know that virtual interviews are very important and they are part and parcel of our day-to-day life. So these are some of the different and common types of interview. So let me find out from you all whether you could understand it or not. In what kind of interview similar questions would be asked? In what kind of interview similar questions would be asked? Very good, Anshuman. Very good, Abhishek Rajak. Yes, it is structured. Rightly stated, Ritu Ranjan. So I see very few giving me the reply instantly. Rest others copy pasting. Ria Kumari, it is not saturated, dear. Saturated means which is completely filled up to the brim. All right, where nothing can be accepted, nothing can be dipped or dropped. That is called as saturated. No problem, Ria. I understand that. So structured, yes, it is structured. The next kind of interview. Let me. I'll request you all to not to unmute your speakers in between. Aditya Kumar Chaudhary. Every day it is you, dear, who enters into the class with your speaker unmuted. So please, I'll request you to unmute your speaker. Aditya Kumar Chaudhary, I'll appreciate you if you can unmute your speaker. Thank you very much, Aditya. Moving ahead, my next question to you all. In what kind of interview, in what kind of interview people try to challenge the ability and skill of the candidate? They try to create pressure, they try to create problems. Very good. Yes, it is stress interview. Can you give certain examples of computer assisted interviews? Can you give an example of computer assisted interview? Those are yes, they are for the virtual, Abhishek Kumar Rajak. When I talk about computer assisted interview, they could be related to your aptitude or psychometric. All right. Aptitude or psychometric would be the right answer. All right. So let us move ahead with the next part of this particular interview process. There are certain stages that we have to keep in our mind whenever we are talking about improving ourselves and presenting our skills in front of the interviewee in order to get the interview process, in order to clear the interview process, or in order to get through the process of interview. That is stage one. Let us understand what are the ways in which we can prepare for the interview so that we all can successfully clear the process of interview. Point number one, stage one says prepare. Preparation is very, very important. Abhishek, when I talk about psychometric test, you need to remember psychometric is related to how do you think, how do you conduct any activity. Psycho means mind. Metric is to measure your mind, to measure the uh, to study your mind, to measure the way you are thinking, to measure the way you are approaching any of the activity or any of the problem. So whenever we talk about psychometric tests are those tests where the people will be asked certain questions and then they will ask you to answer. It would be like multiple choice. That's what I said. You may get confused with the word psychometric test. You need not worry about it. I'll be conducting a psychometric test. I'll share the results with you all in order to make you understand what exactly the psychometric test is all about. All right. So let us wait for the activity that we are going to do in order to understand psychometric test. So Prerna, if I say one-on-one interview, if I conduct your interview wherein you are answering my questions and I'm listening to your answer, this will become one-on-one interview. There is one interviewer and there is one interview. Structured interviews, Sankita, are those interviews where same kind of questions will be asked to everyone. Say, for example, I have prepared 5 questions, and these 5 questions I'll ask to Abhishek, I'll ask to Prerna, I'll ask to Sangeeta, I'll ask to Deepak, I'll ask to Nitish. I may ask to every student the same kind of question. That is called as structured. When I talk about unstructured, dear, unstructured are those kind of interview where we are asking different question to the different interview. Virtual interviews are those where physically you are not present. Abhinav, the kind of classes that are happening is virtual. Why do we call it as virtual? Because you are sitting somewhere, I am sitting somewhere, and I'm conducting my class, and then you people are attending. Computer assisted, stated here, you must have the computer, you must have internet with you in order to appear for that particular interview process. Amrita, that is what I said, aptitude test. If you want to give your aptitude test, say for example, if you have applied for IIT JEE exam, if you have applied for NEET exam, there are certain tests which are conducted. It could be conducted offline and online. But if it is only online, say for example, if you are applying for CAT examination, you must have heard about CAT, Common Aptitude Test, or you might have seen someone appearing for Common Aptitude Test. These all tests are conducted online. So that is with the help of the computer. That is the reason it is called as computer assisted interview. Did I clear your doubts? If I have cleared your doubts, and if I can proceed ahead with the present slide that I am willing to explain right now, quickly in the chat box, and in case if you have any further doubts, do let me know so that I can clear it. Thanks everyone for giving me that confirmation. So let us understand that if we are willing to appear for the interview process and if we really want to get through the interview process, what are the things that we have to keep in our mind? In what way we should prepare? In what way we should start our preparation? All right. So when we talk about preparation, please remember your resume is very, very important. Sufi, if you are appearing for an interview process where Neeru is asking question to Sufi and Sufi is answering to Neeru, that is called as one-on-one interview. One person asking one certain question, certain sets of question to the other person. That is called as one-on-one interview. One person asking question to the other person here, and there is an interviewee is answering the questions that are asked by the interviewer in order to get through the process. So when we talk about the preparation process, please remember, these are very, very important here. You should know your resume. Many a times I have seen people, they go to certain places like cyber cafe, or to certain people who are smart enough, who are good enough in content development or even in drafting the resume. They get their resumes drafted by them, and they don't even know what is mentioned in their resume. So that is the biggest mistake. You all should remember this. If you are appearing for an interview process, if you have applied for an interview process, you should know your resume from the top to bottom thoroughly. I repeat, whenever you are appearing for an interview process, the most important thing is you should know what you have mentioned in your resume. You should know every point that is mentioned in your resume. That is the reason point one says know what is mentioned in your resume, read it, reread it. Prepare certain questions that are asked time and again. You all know in every interview, of course, they are going to ask you your introduction. So you need not say that I don't know what kind of questions they are going to ask. You can know it very easily because there would be a job description. I repeat, every organization, when they call for the interview process, when they call the applicants to apply for the interview process, they will share job description. I want everyone to write these two words, job description, in the chat box so that you all can remember this. Job description. What do we understand by job description? It describes the job. It describes the different roles and responsibilities that are assumed, that are expected by the organization, which a person, which the applicant is expected to do. That is called as job description. So whenever we are talking about job description, it will have all the details. Say, for example, you are applying for the position of sales executive. So in the job description, it will be mentioned by the organization that if we hire you, what are the different things that we expect from you, like how you are going to meet the client, how your communication skills should be, how you're going to promote the product, what are the areas that you are going to travel and move in order to sell the product. Everything will be mentioned in the job description. So based on job description, you can frame certain questions. Say, for example, if there is a job in which you should have the knowledge of Tally and Excel. So you can come to know, isn't it? By seeing that particular line that you should have, one should have, the applicant should have the knowledge of Tally and Excel. So you can expect that they can ask you a question related to Tally and Excel. So prepare certain questions. Try to identify what are the common questions that are asked during the interview process and then prepare accordingly. Work out on your clothes. Please remember, whenever you appear for any of the job, whenever you are applying for the job, based on your profile, based on your position, they want to see that you are a matured candidate. You may have different styles, you may have your own personal style, but when you're working in an organization, you have to work with your team. So therefore you need to work out on your clothes. Do a proper rehearsal of the interview. You can do it with your friends, you can do it with your family member, you can do it with your teacher, you can take mock interviews, and then accordingly you can do a rehearsal of the interview. As stated earlier also, anticipate. Anticipate means think beforehand. Think beforehand. Try to identify what are the common questions which are asked in general. There are different websites on which you can find out common interview questions. If you type common interview questions with answers, you will also find what are the different answers that are given, that are shared by the expert. So you should practice those common interview questions and try to frame suitable answers. I'm not asking you to buy hard. You should identify the right way of presenting the answer, which includes your knowledge, which includes your skills, which includes your abilities. So identify what are the common questions and how can you answer those questions. In case if they are going to create any stress related question, in case if they are conducting stress interview, how are you going to deal stress? How are you going to handle stress? How are you going to handle difficult people? How are you going to handle difficult questions? How are you going to handle those situations which are tough for you to manage? So you have to prepare accordingly. Also remember, you should know who the company, like who the employer is, what is the profile of the company, in which company are you applying for the job. The basic knowledge of the organization is very important. Trust me, many a times I have seen people, they are applying for the job, they even come to appear for the job. When we ask, do you know anything about this organization, they are blank. So it is very bad if you don't know the organization, if you don't know the functioning of the organization, if you don't know who the competitors are, what are the different products or what are the different services, you cannot match up, or you cannot reach up to the expectations of the organization. So it is very, very important here to identify who the employers are and what are they expecting from you. So therefore, know exactly where the interview will be held. Again, reaching the interview place late is not at all accepted. So please know the place. You can even visit it one day prior to see how much time does it take to reach the location, whether you can reach it on time or not. If in case it is too far, so how much time will it take? Do you have your own vehicle, or are you going to hire the vehicle? So there can be different things related to reaching to the venue, so you need to identify these. This is step number one. This is stage number one. When we come to stage number two, this is very, very important. This is the place, this is the time, this is the place, this is the things which are happening, and you all will be in stress. Everybody will be nervous. Not only you, the one who is appearing for the interview process, even the interviewer will be stressed. Why? Because he or she is trying to find the right candidate for the organization. So both the parties are in stress. So once when you are in stress, how do you calm down your nerve? How can you calm down your stress? How can you have control over your stress? Point number one, always arrive the interview time with the prior understanding that if I reach there, my interview is scheduled at 10 o'clock. Instead of reaching at 10, I'll reach there by 9:45. At least I must have 10 to 15 minutes in my hand so that I can check my dress, I can check my resume, I can once again revise my resume, I can sit comfortably, I can have a glass of water, I can calm down, and I can sit with a relaxed mood to appear for the interview process. So always remember, arrive in good time. It means arrive prior to the designated time. Make a good entrance. Say there should be a good smile on your face. Your top to bottom, right from your shirt to your trouser, even to your shoes. Even if I'm talking about the girls, they look really very smart when they are wearing the formal dresses, particularly the Western. But even if you're wearing Indian dress, so if you're wearing a shirt salwar, or even if you're wearing a sari, you should have the proper attire. You should really uh, carry yourself in the good way. The body language. Please remember, we are going to talk about handshakes. We are going to do this exercise once again practically about the handshake. So therefore, don't get confused when I talk about handshake, the different types of handshake. We are going to do this in the future classes. But yes, people are going to judge you with your handshake. How do you walk? How do you talk? How do you conduct the eye contact? And how do you carry yourself? There should be always a positive smile. Always remember, when you're going to enter into the room, there should be a smile on your face, because the moment you are smiling, you can kill your nervousness. I want you all to do this small activity right now. Wherever you are sitting, in whatever position you are sitting, just give a broad smile. Smile for at least 10 seconds. The moment you are smiling, you will see that you cannot think anything. You cannot think anything because you are smiling. And when you are smiling, you are full of positivity. So that is the reason why every time, every now and then, people are asked to smile, to carry that positive smile on their face, so that they can always have that positivity within themselves. This is stage number three. When you are appearing for the interview process, now you have reached the venue, now you are sitting in front of the interviewer. So know who you are. That is the reason, prepare your elevator pitch. Know about yourself in a better way. Practice the basic question related to yourself. That is, interview. The first question, introduce yourself. Know about yourself. Be very honest. Don't give fake answers or don't bluff the wrong information in front of others to show that you are extremely extraordinary candidate. No, be whatever you are. Try to talk, but when I say try to talk, try to communicate, don't exaggerate. Don't boast your knowledge. Don't show unnecessarily extra knowledge that you are having. Even if you are smart, super smart, don't show that you are a super smart guy. Be a smart candidate, that is acceptable, but don't talk too much. Uh, there should be limited words, there should be limited sentences, there should be attractive words, attractive sentences which can attract the audience, that is the interviewer. Don't be afraid, even in case if you don't know the question, don't be afraid of saying, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. It is 100% okay if you say that the question that is asked to me is not known to me. The answer of that particular question is not known to me, or I haven't prepared for that particular question. But if you bluff, if you give false statement, if you are giving wrong answers, that will spoil your candidature. So therefore, don't be afraid. If you have any doubts, get it clarified. If you have any answers and if you want to explain with examples, do explain it, but with the relevant examples. Even the examples that you're quoting should be right one, should be relevant one. You should know that when you talk about interview process, it is the process in which you are trying to present your personality so that you can create right impression in the mind of the interviewer that you are the right candidate for that organization. So be ready to sell yourself and show that you are an interesting person. How can you show that you are an interesting person? By exhibiting your knowledge. That is the reason. Always remember, knowledge, skills, and attitude matters a lot. How much knowledge you have, how do you have the art of presenting your skills and abilities, and what is the attitude, what is the thought process. Most of the time people, they appear for the job interview process, but they are working half-heartedly. Say for example, you have applied for one of the job one of the interview processes in ABC organization, and they have already hired you, and here you are again appearing for the job process in XYZ company, and again the interview process is going on. But you are in a dilemma whether to go for ABC or to go with XYZ. So, because of this dilemma, you will not be able to perform your best. You will not be able to give your 100%. And due to this lack of interest, due to this lack of selection or the choice that you are unable to choose, so what happens, it creates disinterest. So please remember, whenever you are appearing for the interview process, your heart, your mind, your soul, everything should sync, should work together with your body language. You should know that if you are appearing for the interview process, you are the one who is going to opt for it and who's going to get through it, and then who's also going to work for it. Otherwise, it is not only going to kill your time, it will also kill the time of the interviewer. This is the final stage. Know the interviewer, and that is the reason, as I have already stated, that whenever you are applying, whenever you are appearing for the interview process, along with you, you should also know that the interviewer will also be in stress. The interviewer will also be in same kind of pressure, because they want to select the right candidate. So know about them, read them. How can you read them? Whether you have really created interest in him or her, their body language will talk a lot. Their body language will help you know to judge the right things and right information. So observe the body language of the interviewer. Thank him or her from at the end of the interview process, so that the other person should know that yes, you are the right candidate. And also ask for the feedback whenever the feedback is required. So for example, you have given the question answers in a proper way, but you're not satisfied whether your answers were right or wrong. So you can ask for the feedback at the end of the interview process. So please remember, when we talk about interview, your first impression matters a lot. Know the answer to the different common questions. Work out on the communication skill. How can you present your answer? Work out on your thought process. Work out on your behavior. Work out on your personal appearance. Work out on your eye contact. And how well can you prepare yourself? When you do this, you will see that you are doing extremely well and you are performing extremely good. All right. So I want you all to keep these points in your mind that when we talk about interview process, interview doesn't create problem. Interview is going to give you answers to your problem. So when we talk about the answers, these answers can be easily developed, created, and accepted if you have right mindset. So you should know about the interview process. Why are we talking about interview process? In the very first semester, you're going to appear for viva. Each and every candidate of first semester, be it BBA or BCA, you're going to appear for your viva. And very soon, before your written examination or end semester examination, your internal examinations will be held, wherein you will be appearing for your practical examination. You all are going to appear the interview process. During the interview process, whatever is being explained and told, I want you all to imbibe, to inculcate, to develop this attitude, the right attitude, which can help you to create the right impression in the mind of the interview. Wish you all a happy weekend. This is the final class of this particular weekend. I am I'll be very happy as I have already shared the assignment. If in case you can submit the assignment on time as expected from you all. Second thing, I'm really very happy to see you all asking me questions, but it should not happen only during the time of classes. Please do revise. Revision matters a lot. In case if you have any doubts, please ask me those questions via email or even during the class. The initial 5 minutes, we always keep it aside so that I can clear your doubts. Wish you all happy weekend. Take care of yourself and have a fantastic day. The attendance link will be shared on your inbox, like in your inbox. Do mark your attendance, dear. God bless you all.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Abhishek.
Ma'am, I have a curious